Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am Malbeefance for Coastal Virginia Esports Gaming, and this is the fifth episode of my playthrough of Strategic Command World War One, brought to you by Slytherin Limited, Fury Software, and Matrix Games. They are the folks that are responsible for developing and publishing the game. They have an entire line of strategic command games, including the American Civil War and several games covering the Second World War. This series is covering their World War One game, which I happen to enjoy considerably. And this series has been about really so much more about introducing the game than it is about doing a deep dive on things like strategy and mechanics, realism, whatever. But I will mention about playability. I consider the game to be quite playable. It is multi-person capable. You can go head-to-head. You can do online head-to-head as well as hot seat. So you've got flexibility there. I had mentioned in a previous episode World War One games, not World War One itself, but World War One games. They have a history of not being very exciting. And Strategic Command World War One does what it can to be interesting. I think they do a pretty good job of it. You're going to have to let me know what you think about it, because I would like to hear your thoughts on whether you think the game is interesting or not. I do, obviously, or I wouldn't be going to this trouble. So, with that out of the way, this is the fifth turn, and things are still gearing up. We are getting our defensive line for the Central Powers pretty much almost complete now along the Eastern Front, and I'm already looking at how I'm going to advance along the Eastern Front. My primary strategy is to go ahead and have a force of infantry and cavalry push up the Bug River towards Brest-Litovsk here, and then another force pushing down from Johannesburg to link up with them and create a pocket here to see how many Russian units I can trap inside what I am tentatively calling the Polish pocket. Secondary push is going to be up here in the Balkans with the goal of threatening the Russian capital of St. Petersburg. And hopefully I'll have enough forces to be able to do that. Down here in the south, if the Austrians are able to, if I'm able to get their forces built up enough, or if the Russians redeploy in such a way that they afford me the opportunity, I will use the Austrians to push into, here, let me do that. I'll use the Austrians to push into Ukrainian territory here and possibly threaten the Caucasus. I really don't expect to get that far with the limited Austrian forces that I have available, but I can dream. Eventually, the Ottoman Empire is going to join on the Central Powers side. It's a question of when. The computer and I have been making choices throughout the game that have been accelerating the Ottoman Empire's decision whether or not to join and when. And so I expect them to be joining within the next 3 to possibly 4 turns. To that extent, I have been getting what Ottoman forces are available over to the Caucasus front between Turkey and Russia, with the exception of these two units down here, these two detachments. I'm going to need them because the computer is going to do a Lawrence of Arabia on me. It'd be silly not to try. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these two garrisons to help out the forces that will mobilize once war is declared. There will be forces that mobilize down here. I'm going to try and get them down here as quickly as I can, as soon as I can, in order to help them out, in order to slow down the advance of the UK's Mesopotamian Expeditionary Force. All right. In the interest of trying to cut down on the length of these episodes, I'm not going to do a review of the other fronts. I suspect you'll get caught up on it pretty quickly when I go through the turn process and I go to those other fronts to go ahead and do whatever advances, maintenance I've got to do. So we're ready to start the computer's next turn. So advance the turn. Prince Wilhelm flees Albania as civil war breaks out. Not good, because that means that the new Albanian government is going to join the Entente powers. Entente raiders disrupt Norway-German convoys. It means they're disrupting the trade route. Chief of Staff Helmuth Moltke resigns due to ill health. We're sorry to see him go. And Erich von Falkenhayn replaces von Moltke as Chief of Staff. Couldn't ask for a better man, with the possible exception of Hindenburg. All right, German scientific progress in artillery weapons goes from 23% up to 38%. Once it hits 100, we will have an advance in artillery weapons. The shells do more damage. The artillery is more accurate. Here's the ledger for the upcoming turn on how much each of my three Central Powers units, my three Central Power countries will get at the start of the turn, plus whatever was left over from the previous turn. Calculating supply for the Entente. Serbian forces do some preliminary ops. Now the Russians. As long as I have played this game, I do not know what pattern the computer uses to decide where it's going to go next in its deliberations. It just seems to be all over the place. So now you've seen scouting over on the Western Front, and now you've seen some attacks down on the Serbian front, and now over here in Galicia on the Eastern Front. Some French forces moving around. Wonderful. The French and the Russians have sent me presents. Those cavalry units moving into those two locations, I don't know if you caught the one over on the Western Front that the French moved into a vacant hex. Okay, so the Russians changed their mind and pulled that cavalry unit out of there. That was a smart move. And there it is. So this was going to happen sooner or later. The UK prepares for war, and the sky is crying. All right. So these are reinforcements that were already scripted to appear. I did not have to purchase them. The beginning of this game, there is a lot of that. Pretty much any of the Strategic Command games, When the game starts, there is already a number of items, a number of units that are already in pre-production. You don't have to purchase. That allows you to use your resources elsewhere, obviously. Or you can buy more stuff and just um, have a lot of units come out in the beginning. All right, so now I got to decide where I want to put these guys. Things have been pretty quiet on the Western Front, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use these guys to help out over here on the Eastern Front. So 22nd and 23rd Reserve Infantry Corps. Excuse me. All right, so that is it for the units. Just to show you, under purchase, go to production. Okay, this shows you everything that the Germans have got coming. So, day, month, year. So I really don't have to purchase anything except for infantry units. I got plenty of submarines coming, some more destroyers, a few more dreadnoughts. So it allows me to focus my available resources on other things. Now the Austrians, you'll notice, are a lot lighter. They don't have as big a industrial base. So I am going to have to purchase some more land units for them here early on when I get the opportunity. The Ottomans are not in the war yet, so there is nothing in their production queue. All right, so I'm going to reinforce this guy. All right. Obviously, weather has an effect. I know some games you're at a grand strategic level where weather really doesn't make a difference at that high a level. But this game, we are at a level where weather can make a huge difference. It's pretty much raining all across Northern Europe right now. Weather is kind of random. I say kind of because depending on what time of the year it is and what weather you currently have, those two things are modifiers for what weather will be in the next turn. So it does kind of get driven by an algorithm. It's not purely random. All right, so I can go ahead and I can reinforce these guys. And he can move into that empty forest hex. Been meaning to get somebody in there the entire game. Priorities. All right. So this unit down here still has not fortified itself. It still has not entrenched. I can still do damage to it. Decent damage, not slogfest. So let's scout him out. See if that helps any. Still 1 to 4 odds. Going to hit him anyway. So unfortunately, he is getting really damaged. So let me swap these guys out. Does that help? Yes, it does. Good. I can still get a good hit. All right, he retreated, unfortunately. I was hoping he'd stay there so I'd go ahead and hopefully wipe him out with this unit. I could advance, get up to the river. That would be a much better defensive position. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I can either entrench him to add to his defense, or I can attempt to eliminate this unit. Eliminating the unit does damage to Russia's national morale, and the goal is to drive national morale down to 0 to have them surrender. So we're going to take the attack option. And there it is, shattered. All right. So now Russia obviously can reconstitute that unit, um, but it will take time to get them back out into the field, and the Russians may have other priorities that they wish to spend their money on. Now, we've got a headquarters unit that we've spotted over here. That is a high value target, but unfortunately, I am not in a position to do anything about it. Excuse me. Now, I could reinforce these units, or I could swap their position with the cavalry. I'd still be able to reinforce them as long as their strength is under 10 if I swap their positions. But if I have them actually move, I won't be able to do it this turn. But I want to start filtering my cavalry units into their offensive positions. I want to get them out of these defensive positions. And with it raining, that is going to affect movement. So I'm just going to have to reinforce these units next turn. It's okay, they're only 1 point under strength. Try to extend my defensive perimeter here a little bit. It also makes a hole for this unit to move. Now, let me hide the units for you so I can show you something. Novo Georgievsk, however you pronounce this. This is a fortress hex. Um, so it's a tough nut to crack. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to isolate it to make it easier to defeat. It'll be some time before I take this position out. I'll actually occupy Warsaw long before I take this hex out. Same thing goes for Ivangorod. I hope that's how that's pronounced. But they eventually will fall. Yes, I am supremely confident in that. All right, get my headquarters a little closer. And now I can bring this guy up. Oh, yeah. Just remembered. All right, now I mentioned before that you can only pay into these so many times. And right now I've got 3 research chits into trench warfare. I'm about to put a 4th in order to help speed up the development of trench warfare as quickly as possible. You'll notice when I do that, this arrow will gray out, meaning that I can no longer put any more money into researching trench warfare. And so there you go. So until I get an advance in trench warfare, until I reach trench warfare level 1, I'm not going to be able, excuse me a second. Sorry, had to clear my throat there. So until I get an advance in trench warfare and I reach trench warfare level 1, I will not be able to put any more resources into researching trench warfare. And I can have a maximum trench warfare level 5. The various levels in the case of trench warfare, it shows you when I mouse over it, it shows you down there in the bottom left of that pop-up screen, tells you what happens. Each level of trench warfare increases your maximum entrenchment value by 1. Entrenchment value pays into your defensive strength capability if an entrenched unit gets attacked. All right, so I'll stay focused on German forces. So we finished with German forces on the Eastern Front. Now we'll go over to the Western Front. Um, as mentioned before, I'm playing a completely sit and wait game over here until I'm able to finish with Russia first. What I want to do over here in the meantime is to go ahead and take these units. You'll see these green 10s. That means I am able to get them elite reinforcements and get them a strength greater than 10. Okay, it's possible to have a unit strength all the way up to 13. So now I've got 198 production points left. I want to use those to finish mobilizing certain units like this scout unit here, and then whatever I've got left over, I'm either going to use that on research or I will use that to go ahead and get some of those elite reinforcements. So now I'm down to 107. The Navy is fully up to strength. So I can go ahead and I can do some elite reinforcements. So now watch, see the cost is 22 production points out of the 107 that I've got left. Now obviously the elite reinforcements are going to pay into your attack strength and your defense strength, but another benefit that they give you is that if the unit is attacked, the enemy is going to have to do 11 points of damage in order to wipe the unit out now instead of the regular 10. So some folks saw that as, yeah, duh, obviously. But in case you didn't realize that, that is another benefit. All right, so that's going to leave me with 19. I cannot give elite reinforcements to these 3 units for 2 reasons. One, I do not have the production points available now to do it. And 2, they are in contact with enemy units. Okay, that's a restriction within the game. If you're in contact with a hostile unit, you cannot do upgrades or give elite reinforcements to units that are in contact with hostile forces. So now I can do something like this. I can go ahead and I can swap those 2 units positions, and if I had the production points available, I could now upgrade him with those elite reinforcements. But as I mentioned, I don't have the 22 points available to do that. And now this unit here is grayed out, so I'm not able to do anything more with him this turn. So this unit here, the 19th Saxon Corps, they're just going to have to wait for next turn for them to be able to get their elite reinforcements. We'll go ahead and entrench these guys. I forgot to do that last turn, I think. So now this is a fortified town or a fortified city, so I'm not able to entrench him because I don't have to. All right, so there we go. It takes care of my double defensive line here. Okay, so this guy's actually the double defense line for this one here. And then he doubles. He's the front line unit for this hex, and he's the backup unit for this hex. All right. So now we finished with German forces on the Eastern Front. Now I'm saving the Navy for last. We'll go ahead and work with the Austrians. Now this unit has been hit a few times. Swap him out so that he's not as exposed, and then reinforce him. Reinforce this guy. swap them out and reinforce. Now, the reason that I swapped these two out is because this unit has already taken readiness and morale damage from the attacks that it suffered from Serbian forces. When I reinforce him, as I mentioned in the last episode, those reinforcements will cause a further reduction in the unit's readiness capability. So swapping him out over here, it only exposes one face instead of two. This unit is still at the maximum available readiness. You'll see down there it's 71 compared to his 6356. That's where command and control research comes in. Command and control, the higher that tech level, the higher your readiness morale. Also, infantry warfare also affects that. All right, so now that the U-5 submarine is fully mobilized, it's up to maximum strength, I'm going to deploy them. They're going to sit here astride the French-Serbian supply line in order to interdict that. I'm also going to have the Austrian destroyer also do it. And then just in case anybody decides to come out and mess with the destroyer, I'm going to have the dreadnought ready to back him up. All right, Ottomans, real quick here. So there's my Gallipoli defense. Finish getting this leader, von Saunders. So now eventually I'm going to move von Saunders down here to Erzurum to centralize his command and control support. Rain is really restricting movement for the Ottomans through the mountains. Now, normally if I could, I'd have force marched these two units, but because their supply is now below 5, I do not have the option to force march them. All right, the main attraction, the Eastern Front. Swap these two units out, reinforce him. Reinforce him. Do I have... No, I don't. I don't have a unit available yet, so I can pull these guys out. But I will take a chance and move him a little bit closer. Okay, there's a good odds attack right there. Oh yeah, they got lucky. They got that extra point. All right, now I could advance him. He wouldn't be able to entrench, but he would have the river defense. Now the problem is it exposes him to this to attack here, and then we have an opening coming through our line. Now I can plug the opening with the cavalry unit, or I could have him come over here, but then I'd have an even bigger hole right here. Let's do it this way. Okay, that was a bad call. But luckily I didn't move him in here because I couldn't see this cavalry unit. And if I had moved him in here, it would have been a surprise ambush by the cavalry unit on this infantry corps. So even though this was a bad move because I thought I was going to be able to entrench him, but I can't. So now he's exposed on four sides. It's still a better option than having him move into the woods here and having him get ambushed by the cavalry. The best option would have been not to advance at all, but sorry, I'm a little bit too aggressive. All right. All right, so now we know that the United Kingdom is going to be joining the triple, is going to make it a triple entente um, on the next turn. So there's no point in worrying about making anybody mad by having my navy in the North Sea. So first thing I'm going to do is move out the submarines in order to be both scouts and to interdict any British forces that might attempt to come into the Straits of Dover in response to my mining mission. So mine the Thames, finish mining the Straits. So now they're grayed out. They used up all their movement points to move all the way down here and then drop their mines. That is the primary reason why I have this surge force sitting here like it does, because now I can bring them in order to be ready for any response that is made to my operation. All right. Okay, so that is almost everything I can do. The Austrians have to do their research. All right, so the Austrians still have 42 production points left. The only thing that I can do is airship development or fighter development. So let's get an early start on fighter development. The Turks, I want to bank that 115. I want to save it for next turn because I want the Turks to have enough to be able to research infantry weapons. Now, industrial technology increases your production points at the start of your turn. So that is another important thing that both well, all of the central powers, any of the powers in this game need to research that. Germany's a little bit okay because they already had money paid into it at the start of the game. It was already scripted in there, but the Austrians and the Ottomans do not. So that is like that is their priority after infantry weapons and trench warfare. Real quick look, make sure I didn't forget anything. This question mark up here lets me know that there has been a sighting So somebody, probably the French, have a destroyer that is attempting to interdict Norway's supply line to Germany. I really can't do anything about it right now. So that will be it for this turn. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for tuning in and watching. If you did make it this far, please leave a like, give a share. Um, If you want to, please, by all means, go ahead and subscribe to help grow the channel. If you have any specific questions about the game mechanics of Strategic Command World War One, or you have any questions about strategy and tactics in this particular run through, by all means, go ahead and leave them in the comment section, and I hope to see you there. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.